before we do get fully started today, to the one man that made me love tight ends, this one goes out to you. Rob Gronkowski, thank you so much. Now, back to your regularly programmed scheduling of the Pieper Sports Podcast. It's NEWSDROP time. Welcome back. This week, we have a few different things that occurred. We have the retirements of Rob Gronkowski and Ichiro Suzuki. Both players that I watched as I grew up, both players I idoled, both players that retired at a time in my life that I was sad about. I'll say this, two different players, and it's completely different in the realm of who they are, what they represent. Ichiro Suzuki, he was a star right fielder, played for the Mariners and the Yankees. I believe he played for somebody else, but I completely forgot who. Sorry, I'm not as professional as these other people are. Hangs up the cleats at the age of 45, while Rob Gronkowski hangs up the cleats after injuries threaten his future at the age of 29. I'm sad about it. Ichiro Suzuki played his first MLB game in 2001, 18 years ago. During that time, he amassed being a 10-time All-Star and has cemented his greatness and his Hall of Fame legacy with a 2001 MVP season, 10 Golden Gloves, 3 Silver Slugger Awards. It's going to be sad seeing a player like this go. He's undoubtedly going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's a historic player, and the world should recognize his greatness, as he is one of the few players that has crossed over the country, crossed over the ocean, and shown that Japanese players and that foreign players can compete at the highest level and can show he's a true inspiration to many people, Japanese people, to the people of the United States, to all baseball fans. It's a sad day seeing a player like this retire, but we must celebrate his greatness along with the second guy I'm bringing up, Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski was a player that got me into football, really. He was a strong, talented, tall, athletic player that showed his true prowess when catching the football. It's sad seeing him go. He's one of the people that I didn't recognize was going to retire. I knew it was going to happen eventually, but I wasn't prepared for it. Ichiro, I kind of expected. Rob Gronkowski, I didn't. I thought he was going to go for another year. I didn't respect it enough this year. I didn't appreciate his greatness as it happened, and it makes me sad that I missed that opportunity. I will say, however, in his career, he's totaled 7,861 yards, 79 touchdowns, and 521 receptions, 5 Pro Bowl appearances, 4-time first-team All-Pro, and in his 9-year NFL career was played with injuries and was completely destroyed by injuries, missing, I believe, somewhere in the realm of 36 to 40 games in that entire period. But through those 9 years, he totaled the most yards, most touchdowns by a tight end, and his truly terrific career is brought to an end. The historic Gronk spike will forever be remembered, and in my mind, Gronk goes down as the greatest tight end in history, or tied with Tony Gonzalez as the greatest tight end in history. It's sad seeing players like this go, but it happens like that sometimes, and I'm not going to argue it. Next, we'll move on to a little bit of news about the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. As most of you don't know, the Alliance of American Football was founded this year and started play this year. They amassed a few big names. They had a QB draft as opposed to a regular one. They acclimate their players based off of where you went to college, what NFL team ended up owning your rights last, and then at the end of the day, if you aren't signed based off of those factors, you're put onto unrestricted waivers, and that's what happened with Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was the former first-round draft pick of the Cleveland Browns a few years back, I believe it was 2012, and he struggled off the field and on the field with not becoming a talented quarterback, even though he had all the potential in the world. Heisman winner. A lot of people compared Baker Mayfield to him. Hopefully it doesn't happen the same. But Johnny Manziel ended up having that cockiness, that swagger that most quarterbacks don't. Of course, most quarterbacks need a swagger to them, a little bit of punch, a little bit of grit and grime, and you saw that. Now that he's in the AAF, there's a huge difference. He's a little bit more humble than he used to be. I watched him in his debut this weekend with the Memphis Express. Believe it or not, when the season began, I chose the Memphis Express as my go-to team. So when I heard the news of Johnny Manziel becoming a Express man himself, I got a little bit giddy on the inside. Because not that it matters too much being a sort of feeder team, but I saw potential in making a happy return to football with Johnny Manziel at the helm of my very own team. I will say, in his first play and second play of the game, he ran the ball, which isn't exactly, it's exciting, but it's not promising. He ran the ball once for 13 yards, and the second play was called back because of a flag. With the days, he's only had 3 days of practice. He hasn't had a lot of practice going into this game, so we knew he wasn't going to do perfect. He wasn't going to have the best game of his long AAF career of 3 years, potentially. I will say, if you listen to the game, and you can watch all AAF games through the AAF football app, and they're great. You can watch all the game replays, even though some are played and streamed through various sources like TNT, CBS, NFL Network. You can watch them through the app, of which I did. I heard the crowd scream, "Johnny, Johnny, Johnny," and it made me a little bit giddy. It got me excited for football with Johnny Football. Unfortunately, he had his struggles. Fortunately, though, his first completion was a long gain down the field. It was a long, deep ball, deep sideline. It was a good placed throw. The throw kind of let him out of bounds, and it was good to see that Johnny's accuracy hadn't gone anywhere. That Heisman caliber quarterback didn't change at all. And if you listen to the announcers during the game, he said, "You could feel the electricity in the air." It was great, honestly, especially looking at all these talented players, which I'll talk about a tiny bit at the end. I loved watching it. It was great seeing Johnny Football out there. Mike Singletary said he was really high on Manziel, and Johnny was actually semi-shocked that Manziel showed so much interest in him. He got a statement from Johnny during his halftime exclusive interview said, "I want to come in and prove I'm not a bad person. You know that I've made mistakes in my life, and I'm trying to be better as anyone else is." It was a humble statement from the previously cocky quarterback. Granted, he hasn't changed at all. He is still that cocky quarterback. He is still that dominant personality and ego on a field, and you could definitely tell that's exactly what he was doing. But his performance didn't exactly make much to be desired. He completed the day with 2 carries for 20 yards and 1 completion for 36 yards. Not very happy, Johnny Hockey. Johnny Football, I apologize. Not very happy. It wasn't great. I will say, the AAF is a league of comebacks, and he is one of the few comebacks that I would like to see. But after watching him for the first week, I don't see too much potential in him returning to the NFL, especially after his performance. He doesn't seem to be making reads just as he wasn't in college. He can run, he can scramble, but when pressure comes, he's literally just going to scramble out of the pocket, not read his receivers down the field, and it's not going to be exciting at all. Now, one thing I will say, I'm really starting to love the AAF. I'm getting really happy whenever an AAF game comes on during the weekends. It's just enough to get me out of the mood of every other sport. It's just enough to quantify and justify me actually turning on a game and watching it in its entirety. I'll give you a few reasons why I love the AAF, and I'll give you a few reasons why I don't love the AAF. We'll start with why I don't, because we'll end on a positive note, because that's great. What I don't like about the AAF, you look at offensive line play, and I'm a film junkie. I watch a lot of film. You don't see many good offensive lines in the AAF, which shows the talent level in the NFL is so much stronger when it comes to offensive lines. There's a difference between suiting up 5 giant guys to stand and block for you, and then there's putting up 5 talented guys and are big and are athletic and are talented to face up against other big talented guys. The NFL, there's no comparison between the AAF and the NFL when it comes to offensive lines. I don't see it yet, and honestly, it's pretty bad in the AAF. I don't like the fact that the NFL has a lot more poise and a lot more disciplined players. I don't like the AAF because of the reason a lot of these players start swinging at each other. They'll start fighting. Not a lot of these players are recognizing this could be their last chance at a potential NFL career, a potential major league career. They aren't putting it as a first priority. I will say, when you watch an offensive play, when you watch the offense and the defense play, there's non-creative plays, which I guess can be okay because it's more simplified for the players, but I don't like seeing non-creative play calling. I love watching Josh McDaniels make plays. I love watching Sean McVay make plays. Those creative offenses give some of these players that niche talent, that Cordero Patterson style that they really need. I don't see that in the AAF right now. Inexperienced players and inexperienced coaches lead to easy miscues. You see a lot of false starts. You see a lot of offsides. You see a lot of the dumb, simple mistakes that can be fixed with good coaching. And that comes with time. The first year of the AAF is not exactly where you're going to find all of your news, and it's not exactly where you're going to find all of your talent. You need time to get these players coached up. That's why it's a development league, because these players are developing at a different level than the talent that's already in the league, and that's what gives these teams and this league its niche audience. It's the G League. It's the AAA. It's the AA. These players need to develop. That's why they're inexperienced. Coaches need to develop. That's why it's inexperienced. Last thing I hate, all of the drops. There are a lot of them. If you are a receiver, if you are a cornerback, don't take any advice from the AAF. It's bad. It's really bad. You see a lot of drop passes that should be caught. You understand why catching is such an elite trait when it comes to the NFL, because these players, they struggle. The ones that don't, Charles Johnson, Reese Horn, 2 receivers in the AAF, they do really well. They have glue on their hands. They're doing fantastic. They can catch the ball. Ending on a more positive note, what I love about the AAF, a good mixture of big names, busts, and unknown players all getting their shot at exposure. Johnny Manziel, Christian Hackenberg, quarterbacks on the same team. Both of them big names. Both of them busts. It's exciting to see them merge with these players that have never really got their chance to shine. And you get the real opportunity to see some of these real talented players that otherwise would have never got the opportunity to show their true selves and their true potential. And I think that's really exciting. Shorter games, that's fantastic. I love seeing the double box. If you ever know what the double box is, they have in one box the football game, which isn't going on, not active plays, but, you know, the players in the huddle or players on the sideline during a timeout. And in the double box, they have an advertisement on the other side. I like being immersed fully into a sport. It gives me the opportunity to watch all of these teams and all of these players play outside of what they traditionally do. I think it's exciting to have these games shorter. Expert NFL analysis Terrell Davis, Rod Woodson, and Marvin Lewis are mainstays. Marvin Lewis with color commentating, Rod Woodson and Terrell Davis watching the games from the studio. It's good to have an NFL presence there because it justifies why the AAF exists. Football is football, and you love seeing these players that are so talented go there and talk and monitor and see what else goes on and watch these young players or these developing players go. Because they give you that advice. It's that Tony Romo-esque-ness that you really need in a football broadcast that isn't the NFL. It makes it better. True leaders are showing maturity really varies in the AAF, and you can see leaders distinguishing themselves from others. I saw the Express and the Birmingham, Alabama Iron game. I saw one of the receivers on the Birmingham Iron argue with one of the cornerbacks, and there was a penalty on the defense, the cornerback had a penalty on him, so the play was going to go for the Iron. Unfortunately, he started arguing with that cornerback. When you argue with a cornerback and start throwing punches, you're going to get a flag on your team, and it's going to be a net negative play. Number 70. His name? J.C. Hassenauer. I hope I pronounced that correctly. J.C. Hassenauer, number 70 of the Iron, an offensive lineman, their center, ran over. Literally, it's disrespectful to do this, but put his arms around him, picked him up, and took him off. That's a leader showing that he is doing what needs to be done to make sure the team isn't penalized because of one player's actions. That's a leader. That player, just because of that leadership value, deserves a chance at the NFL. Or deserves a look, not a chance. He deserves to be looked at. Because that's traits that you don't have, that the AAF and these other developing leagues like the G League and the AAA and Chinese basketball as well is really showing these players' true talent and their true potential and the true traits that go out that they wouldn't get exposure with otherwise. I love the AAF. I'm starting to. Johnny Manziel and all. What if Rob Gronkowski or Ichiro Suzuki were late risers? That would be the time for a development league. The NFL needs this. The AAF needs the NFL to justify its reason for existing. And right now, I like where it's going. Well, that's been the Pieper Sports Podcast. This is episode number 7. It's great. I love doing this for you guys. Please subscribe. Please like. Please comment. I would love comments on these videos. I would unbelievably love comments on these videos. Please give me a reason to keep doing these because I love doing them. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything you guys do for me. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.